Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include Activision Blizzard employees not holding back now that Bobby Kotick is gone. China doing such a big 180 on their game monetization crackdown that they fired the guy responsible for it. Diablo 4's surprising most popular class, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below, but right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. But before we dive in, just a quick word from this video's sponsor. I built my website, Rhykker.com, using Squarespace, and I was able to do everything myself, quickly and easily, and with zero education in the field, all thanks to how easy Squarespace is to work with. Watch how easily I update the Diablo 4 section on my website to include all my video coverage of the latest season updates. Squarespace is flexible for any kind of website, with tons of templates that you can easily customize to your needs. No knowledge of coding required. And with their new Fluid engine, it's even easier than ever. You just drag and drop elements to move and resize them. You can even set up a custom merch shop with Squarespace now. You just design your products, and they handle production, inventory, and shipping, all the stuff that's just a nightmare to handle on your own. Basically, if you want to build a website, I recommend Squarespace. It's the all-in-one platform for building your brand and growing your business online. And Squarespace is offering my viewers 10% off your first purchase with them. Just go to squarespace.com/Rhykker or click the link in the description below to begin your free trial and start building your online presence. That's squarespace.com/RHYKKER and use code Rhykker to get started today. Alright, kicking things off with the biggest story of the week. It's the new year. It's a little bit of a slower news week. Companies are getting back to work, but a pleasant surprise, one might say, of a story that emerged was as Bobby Kotick, CEO of Activision Blizzard, exited the company at the end of the year, a number of Activision Blizzard employees have come out and started absolutely trash-talking him. Bobby Kotick has been CEO of Activision for 32 years. Gamers have been crap-talking him for almost that long. But it's been rare to see employees speaking their minds. But now that there's no more fear of reprisal, oh boy. Community manager Andy Belford tweeted, "When we planned Overwatch 2's Steam launch, my team warned months in advance that we're going to be review bombed. We begged for more information, more details, and more resources to help us with the anticipated influx, all flatly denied. Moderation of Steam was put on the community team, not a function of community at Blizzard, despite my refusal to want to expose members of my team to that level of toxic content and posts." When asked whose decision it was to launch on Steam with no additional help, Bobby. This is only one example of the culture Kotick bred at Activision Blizzard. Crap flowed downstream, usually landing on the lowest paid and most overworked individuals. Management was too busy reacting to wildly vacillating direction and decisions that made zero sense. At the end of everything, player experience meant nothing to the C-suite and executive leadership. It was all about the quarterly earnings calls. And this is someone with 15 years of community management experience. But we all saw the writing on the wall. We all knew that once Overwatch 2 was going to hit Steam, it was going to get... I've realized I used the term review bomb incorrectly. Is going to get flooded with negative reviews. That's normally what I used to mean when I would say the term review bomb, but I've come to realize that's not what other people, I guess most people, mean when they say review bomb. There's an implication that the negative reviews are not warranted. So Overwatch 2 released on Steam. It became one of the worst rated games on Steam of all time. There were a lot of good reasons for it to be getting negative reviews, which we've covered in the past. And so expecting a large burden of moderation suddenly coming in, the guy is asking the reasonable thing, can we have more resources? Can we have more manpower to help with what we're gonna know to be a huge influx of comments that need moderating? And Bobby doesn't care. And who's the one responsible for Overwatch 2 being what it is? For not being what it was promised to be? Well, we go back, I think a couple years, to Tracy Kennedy, former Blizzard producer, who had tweeted, quote, "Bobby, tell everyone about the random projects for Overwatch 1 you all would shove on us. The team would do overtime only for the projects to get cancelled and for months of Overwatch 2 development to have been lost. Or how almost entire teams are turning over and citing you as the reason." That one was from last year, but we got some more recent ones. Christina Polak, a former programmer at Demonware, a subsidiary of Activision Blizzard, and someone who worked on the Call of Duty franchise, said she worked on Call of Duty for 2 years as a programmer at Demonware. Bobby's decisions made our games worse. I am hopeful for a future where they, Activision, don't interfere. Then Patrick Scarborough, a senior WoW designer, went all in on saying, "Eat crap, Bobby Kotick, you pathetic ghoul. Waste the millions you didn't earn from people whose talent and light you will never understand." Now, for anyone who may have forgotten, Bobby Kotick was the guy who, back in 2009, when giving a presentation at the Deutsche Bank Securities Technology Conference in San Francisco, said about Activision, quote, "We have a real culture of thrift. The goal that I had in bringing a lot of the packaged goods folks into Activision about 10 years ago was to take all the fun out of making video games. We are very good at keeping people focused on the deep depression." Oh, and let's not forget how in 2019, when Jeffrey Epstein's Little Black Book had leaked to the public, Chris Avallone of Planescape Torment and Fallout fame posted a picture from the Little Black Book showing a listing for a Bobby Kotick misspelled in that Little Black Book. And while that might not be Bobby Kotick given the different spelling, it is an Activision.com email address. Bobby Kotick's also the one who's been blamed for the breakup of Blizzard and NetEase. In other words, the entire reason that Blizzard games aren't running in China or haven't for most of 2023, and only now are we getting a reconciliation between Blizzard and NetEase now that Bobby's gone. And allegedly Bobby's hated so much in China that his departure is being celebrated. And they have some very flattering nicknames for him there. And let's also remember how Bobby Kotick pissed off Double Fine's production CEO Tim Schafer back in 2009-2010, because Schafer's game Brutal Legend was originally to be published by Vivendi Games subsidiary studio Sierra, but then Activision merged with Vivendi Games, and thus gained the publication rights to Brutal Legend, but then dropped the project because, as per Bobby Kotick, it was running late, they were missing milestones, they were overspending, and the game just wasn't looking very good. And they didn't even bother to tell Double Fine that they were dropping the game. Double Fine had to find out via a press release to the public when they saw that their game was not listed as upcoming on their release schedule. Double Fine then went to Electronic Arts to get published, at which point Activision sued them to stop them from publishing the game that they weren't going to publish anyway. Activision claimed that they had invested $15 million into the title and still had a valid contract to release the game, and while they ultimately settled out of court, it did seem like the judge was going to rule against Activision. But then in an interview with Eurogamer a year later, Tim Schafer said about Kotick, his obligation is to his shareholders. Well, he doesn't have to be as much of a dick about it, does he? I think there's a way he can do it without being a total prick. It seems like it would be possible. It's not something he's interested in. He makes a big deal about not liking games, and I just don't think that attitude is good for games in general. I don't think we're an industry of widgets. I don't think we can approach it like we approach bars of soap, where you're just trying to make the cheapest bar of soap. He definitely has that kind of widget maker attitude. I don't think he's great for the industry overall. You can't just latch onto something when it's popular and then squeeze the life out of it and then move on to the next one. You have to at some point create something, build something. And there you have it. Well, Bobby, you will be missed. You will. Yeah. In the way that you miss a villain. You miss having that easy target to hate. And I do hope you enjoy all the money you made, because that's all you have. Your legacy is one of ruin. Your legacy is that of destroying passion, destroying things that people love, all in the name of turning a profit. Now, in other news, we've been talking about China the past couple of weeks, and the story that developed was that China was cracking down hard on unethical monetization in games. And the follow-up story was that the share prices for Tencent and NetEase, China's two biggest tech companies, took severe hits. And following that, China approved about 100 games all at once, really fast, a big number of games being approved for publication, because all games in China need to be approved before they're published. Well, things have progressed even more. The government official who proposed these new legislations, he's been fired. So right when I thought that China was going to be the world leader in handling ethical monetization of video games, market forces have ensured that that is not going to happen. The government agency will be revising and improving the restrictions after all the feedback that's been coming in and will continue to come in. Meanwhile, the 100 games that were just approved brings the year's total to just over 1,000 games approved this year in China. That's about double what we saw in 2022. It was in 2019 that China started to put a freeze on approving of games, and so it took really long, and they went through a couple of years where there really weren't too many games being approved. Before that, in 2018, they had approved about 2,000 games, and I think what happened is they tried to implement too many regulations of too grand a magnitude too quickly. I think if they had rolled these out a little bit at a time, more slowly, maybe the market wouldn't have pushed back so hard. In some Diablo 4 news, we got a tweet on the official Diablo Twitter account wrapping up the year in numbers, and we see in this graphic that the most popular classes are the Sorcerer and the Necromancer. And this was a surprise to me. Rod Ferguson had confirmed around Diablo 4's launch that the Sorcerer was the most popular class, and in fact during the open beta, Sorcerer and Necromancer were the most popular, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised. It's just that throughout preseason and Season 1, Sorcerer was considered to be one of the worst, if not the worst class in the endgame. And it's really only in Season 2 that Sorcerer reigned supreme. So that tells me one of two things. Either a lot fewer people play the meta than it would appear, or the population of Diablo 4 was very much front-loaded, such that, you know, in the first month, if Sorcerer was the most popular class, then it doesn't really matter if Barbarian is the most popular class of Season 2, because there's just so much fewer people playing in Season 2 than at launch. Or, of course, it could be a combination of both. And in some Diablo 3 news, we got the announcement that Season 30 will begin on January 12th. It's going to see the return of the Season 25 theme, which was the Soul Shards. Also permanently coming to the game are the Visions of Enmity, which were introduced last season. That gives a new super fun way to level and farm resources. The Altar of Rights is permanently coming into the game, albeit in a nerfed state to make it more balanced. And we're getting a number of balance changes to all classes. That's going to shake up the meta a bit, stop the super dominant builds, while also buffing a bunch of underpowered builds to overall bring the game into a much better balanced state. Then in some Baldur's Gate news, it seems someone did an oopsie and accidentally revealed ahead of time that Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the latest enhanced super editions, will be coming to Xbox Game Pass. Some Game Pass users have been getting notifications from the app saying that the games are available. When they go check, they are not. So the notification probably went out early, and any moment now, any day now, we're going to get the official confirmation that these old classics will be available. Now, if you're a Baldur's Gate 3 player, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, they're classics, they're great, very different. It's not using 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, it is using 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, entirely different rule set. Overall, it is much more like 90s CRPG kind of game. Not to say that you won't enjoy it or that it isn't great, but it's going to be a big contrast to Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 are going to be very similar to each other. And then in our last story, apparently Fallout 76 has been doing well and is going to get a ton of content in 2024. The game launched in 2018, and I remember just everyone hating this game. It was terrible, it was the worst Fallout ever, but apparently the devs have been steadily improving it and adding to it, and it seems people enjoy it now. I've heard it described actually as a casual friendly looter shooter. Apparently more than 17 million people have played the game by now, and in spring 2024, Bethesda will launch the Atlantic City America's Playground update, which will feature a new mission where players confront the Jersey Devil. The update will include story-driven quests and new areas to explore and rewards to earn. Then later in the year, new locations will be added to the map in the southern Shenandoah Woodlands, and that expansion will also bring a new quest line, new factions, and rewards. Bethesda also plans to run seasonal events more frequently, each with new rewards to collect. And the updates will also include features and improvements for builders and adventurers in the game. Of course, the Fallout TV series is debuting in April. We had a video talking about that when we saw our first stills from the series, and that's going to be canon. But in the meantime, folks, if you play Fallout 76, what are your thoughts? Or if you've played it within the last couple of years, what are your thoughts? How has it changed since launch? Did you like it then? Do you like it now? Did you dislike it then and like it now? Should I check out this game? If it's a looter shooter, which I didn't realize there was, I think I thought I played Fallout 76 when it released. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't remember it being a looter shooter at all. But if it is it maybe the kind of game that I would like? Let's hear your thoughts, because that's going to wrap up this week's video. But do be sure to check out last week's video in which we discussed how Elon Musk is not happy that his favorite class in D4 is the worst. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykkers Raiders for more gaming content.